Police say we cut the chit-chat, a-hole.
This year we're going to grab the bull by the balls and kick those punks off campus.
Well, looks like the cows have come home to roost.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the entertainment.ie movie show. It's kind of a Christmas special, kind of sort of. We do have a Christmas party later on. The guys have dressed up for the occasion. Well, Dee has. Brian looks like a mime. He's not wearing a headgear this week though. You're normally mad for the owl.
Okay, I thought we
did have a hat earlier.
I thought we weren't going to mention the headgear. I thought
you were just going to wear. You were just going to wear like a helmet or something.
Just wear something. Every week. Just we weren't going to ever discuss or mention it, like the headgear.
We're going to be talking Jumanji and Pitch Perfect 3 this week. We have a Pitch Perfect 3 goodie bag to give away if you can tell us the name of the main group in the Pitch Perfect series, and also Ciara King from 2FM headed on over to London to chat to one of the film stars, Hayley Steinfeld. So let's have a quick look at that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the film.
I'm dying to ask you this because obviously on screen the Bellas are, you know, one big happy family. What are the Bellas like off screen? What's it like hanging out with the cast and the crew?
So much fun. I mean, it really feels like very similar to what you see in the movie. I mean, we're always, there's never a dull moment. We're always laughing and catching up. And it's funny because towards the end of the movie, we sort of had that real feeling come over us that the Bellas do, where we're like, you know, at the end of something that you've spent every day, every waking hour with that person, those people for a long period of time, and you know it's coming to an end, you're like, when are we going to see each other again? But of course, we're now all on the road and promoting the film, and it's been really fun.
A lot of the funny scenes in the movie were between you and Rebel Wilson. I thought she was pretty hard on you, actually, in the movie.
I know.
What's it like working with Rebel?
So fun, and obviously our dynamic is very different than that, thankfully. But she does. Fat Amy definitely does take some jokes out on little Emily, but it's all out of love, and they've got quite a funny friendship for sure.
The Pitch Perfect 3, were you a fan of the first two films?
Not particularly, no. I have two younger sisters now who are mad into the movies. I mean, it's basically like, I suppose Pitch Perfect, wasn't it at the time kind of working off the success of shows like Glee, and there was that other one which I can't for the life of me remember the name of. Yeah, but there were
Smash.
It was mainly Glee.
Yes, that was
Smash,
it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's more of the same kind of stuff, like a cappella and stuff like that. Although, okay, and here I'm going to give away the competition name, but I have to do
Go
that.
on.
The Barden Bellas are back, and this is, you know, supposed to be kind of the final chapter on the story, and they do kind of wrap things up at the end. So yeah, so people who don't really like the movies, this really isn't going to change your mind. People such as myself who are kind of could take them or leave them. I was pleasantly surprised at how fun it was, and people who are fans are definitely going to love it.
That's good, right? Because these films have made a fortune.
They have, but like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong now, Dee, because you can answer me on this. Like, the first one, they were in high school, wasn't it?
I think they were in
university.
They were in college, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was college.
Anna Kendrick's cool DJ on a music station.
Yeah, and she was like really into David Guetta, which was just hilarious. But no, but like, I mean,
cool then.
It's all about
when was
DJ
David
Khaled
Guetta
now.
ever cool? Like, when? But no, my point is that, like, wouldn't they be like kind of like in their mid-20s now? Isn't that the whole sort of thing?
Yeah, the whole idea is that in this movie they've graduated from college and they're off in the real world all doing jobs and stuff, and they're really kind of depressed with where life has brought them, so they want to come together one more time to sing, you know, and so it's kind of their final like outing.
So they go across, they go to some like bigger global
so they go on a USO.
They have instruments. That's the hook for this third film. They have instruments.
Exactly.
The
competition the competition does, exactly. So it's a USO tour that goes around Europe. So I think it's like Italy, France, Spain or something.
You really paid attention, Dee.
I know.
Were you foot tapping along? You were like, a plot.
I was getting distracted by the music, but that is it. Like, the plot is essentially just to drive the music numbers, you know, which are the most fun and the reason why you go. And it is like high quality and sing along stuff.
Yeah, it's almost a genre film in that, like a horror film would have horror set pieces, an action film would have action set pieces. You know, this has those kind of musical numbers.
Exactly.
I remember there was that video. I think it came out for the first film where Anna Kendrick did the cup song. Where she was like doing the cup and the thing, and she was doing and it was really impressive. So I mean, obviously it has some sort of resonance.
Fun little fact about that, by the way, that song, the cup song, was the song she actually auditioned with for Pitch Perfect, and then they put it in the movie. And she was originally going to sing I'm a Little Teapot for her audition in the movie, but they changed it because they loved the cup song so much.
She's very talented, Anna Kendrick.
Really talented.
I think she just does too many films. She kind of works.
She kind of says yes to everything.
Yeah.
So you end up with films like what's
Table
that
19.
one? Table 19. But then some great movies like The Accountant. I loved her in End of Watch as
Yeah.
well a
Yeah.
few years ago.
She can really. She's got some serious range. Like she can do the musicals and she can do the drama stuff as well and the comedy stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's like you say. Yeah, I don't know whether if she's either relegated or if she's just taking everything that comes her way or something. But like I bet if she was a bit more judicious with it, you'd be talking about her in the same way you talk about like, you know, Anne Hathaway or something like that. Isn't like, you know, when they get into a role, they really get into a role and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the fact that like she's so kind of everywhere that you're kind of like, oh yeah, Anna Kendrick, there she is.
There's just something
again.
kind of immediately warm and likable about her.
Yeah.
You know, she just has that as well as being just really talented. you know?
Yeah, and been able to sing too. Okay, so it's decent. Fans that are going to love it.
Exactly.
It's probably going to make a fortune. 'Cause the second one was a huge hit.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's grand for like families and stuff like that. I mean there are a few crude jokes, but you get that in a lot of movies, and
Or
we'll
on the
be getting
show.
that. Yeah, and you'll be getting that with the next movie we'll be discussing as well. There are a few crude jokes.
Let's talk about this one because people like think their childhoods and stuff have been ruined by the fact that there's been a Jumanji kind of remake. I suppose is it a remake?
It's not really related to the first one at all. They mentioned Alan Parrish once, and I was really annoyed about this, right? Because when they were promoting the movie, like Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson and Jack Black did a lot of promotion for this, and they were talking about how it was really going to, you know, follow on from the legacy of the first movie, and they really don't use it at all. They mentioned Alan Parrish once. There's no other mention besides that, and like the game isn't even a board game anymore, it's a video game.
Well,
and they go into the game instead of the game comes out. It just,
I don't know.
it feels like they're just kind of using the name Jumanji.
I mean, that's fair enough. That happens all the time in Hollywood. People will kind of just take the premise or take the title and kind of run with it. It's whether the film itself is any good. And you have to kind of remember as well, because obviously people look back at this stuff with rose-tinted glasses because it's Robin Williams and he was a genius and he was brilliant. The film wasn't that great. It was grand. It was fine. It was no Jurassic Park. Like, it was
no.
But people are acting like it's this seminal, you know, kids movie. It wasn't.
I loved it.
But it did have good. Like it did like for a lot of people of a certain generation, like it was like Jurassic Park and Jumanji were like some of the first films that they saw in the cinema.
Yeah.
So I think it's in that regard that like people are kind of like saying, oh yeah, it's this really seminal film. Blah blah. Now you're right. Like you go back and watch it. It's not. To be fair,
I know.
It's not that
time
good,
hasn't
like,
been kind to
it's same with like The
Yeah.
Rocketeer. Like Rocketeer was like one of the first films I seen in the cinema. I always thought it was brilliant, and I watched it recently. It was like, this is crap. Like Timothy Dalton is hilarious in it, but like it's still crap.
Billy
like.
Campbell should have been a movie star.
He should have
Billy
been.
Campbell's just this classically good-looking guy. Ended up doing like, you know, crappy dramas and on TV. Although he did that show on AMC, really good. The Crossing, The Line, anyway.
Rubicon?
No, he did a show on AMC, the 2 seasons of it was very good. Complete Braveheart in the name, so let's move along. You weren't crazy about this, but reviews generally have been decent.
Yeah.
But you weren't crazy about it.
No, I just went to it and I thought its sense of humor was like really kind of silly and lowest common denominator or something, and there were some parts of it that really worked. Like Jack Black is basically, he plays a teenage girl who's like trapped in his body, and that's quite funny, and I have to say I think it's his funniest role since School of Rock. I think he's great in this. Dwayne Johnson just wasn't comfortable with the fact that he wasn't playing Dwayne Johnson. He's meant to be kind of this geeky teenager trapped in his body, but he never kind of goes all out with it. He doesn't want to totally kind of let go of the fact that he's, you know, got the reputation.
We watch him
that
do
he
stuff
does
on
and
SNL, and get to Kevin Hart in a second, but we watch him do stuff on SNL. He really embraces the kind of silly stuff. So you're saying just in this role he just didn't feel like he was...
He just kind of, I don't know, kind of blurred into the background or something, you know. He just wasn't, I felt that he wasn't kind of at his strongest and wasn't comfortable with the role or something.
But Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, they've Central Intelligence, which is a big hit, and they're going to work together again and again. I think there'll probably be a sequel to that one at some point. How is Kevin Hart in it? Because he's a superstar now.
He's grand as well. So the idea with him, just in case audiences don't know, kind of the basic premise is it's these 4 teenagers are sucked into the game and they turn into their avatars. So Kevin Hart is the avatar of this jock. So he's essentially like this tall, strong young lad who's transported into this like scrawny little body, and he's constantly like saying, I'm small, and giving out about this stuff. And I just felt like it was all kind of very obvious and a bit silly. Like, it's great for young people, it'll be grand for them, although there are a few jokes I thought were a bit inappropriate. For example, of Jack Black discovering the functions of the male body, which I won't get into right now, but
these crude alert. It's okay for fun, but there is some crudeness.
Well, for example, with one joke joke, there was a boy beside me was asking his ma what
Oh,
it meant.
okay.
So I was a bit like,
I'd say
I don't want to be part of that conversation.
Yeah. So that's it for the festive season. I mean, there's going to be, we've got the Greatest Showman coming out, I think, next week as well. So there's going
Stephen's Day, I think.
Stephen's Day, and it's kind of All the Money in the World is going to. That's that early January, Brian.
January. Yeah, 1st or 2nd.
So I think we'll have a catch up probably the first week we come back. Week after next, we won't be around next week, and we'll talk about the kind of the films that have come out all in that period. But let's look back, I suppose, to 2017, and we might have a couple of films each that we thought were strong ones for the year. So for me, my film of the year is Wind River. My favorite film of the year is John Wick 2. John Wick. And I also saw a film on the plane on the way back from America, on the way over to America, A Ghost Story. With Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, which is just beautiful. It is. It's just quite existential and almost abstract at points as well, and it feels like an art film sometimes, but in the best possible way. It's just quiet, subtle, and I can't recommend it enough.
Did you ever see Ain't Them Body Saints? That was the guy who directed A Ghost Story. He did that.
He did Pete's Dragon as well.
He did Pete's Dragon as well. Yeah, but like in Ain't Them Body Saints, it was Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara again. And it was done like kind of like a western, but like not like, as you say, like really quiet, really soft, really gentle, but really beautifully done. And I meant to watch A Ghost Story and I never got around to it.
There's a couple of great scenes, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but essentially what it's based around is Casey Affleck's character, and it dies and then kind of comes back as a ghost, but he has a sheet over his head. It's kind of like it's purposely obvious to kind of get at other stuff and to layer other stuff. And there's a couple of scenes in it that just blew me away. There's one scene that's just on Rooney Mara for about 10 minutes. One scene of her eating a pie for like 10 minutes, and it sounds ridiculous, but when you watch it, it's so powerful. There's another scene where they're not getting on or something. There's like flashbacks to a relationship, and Casey Affleck's character is going to hint that he's like a producer or like a music. He mixes music, or he's a musician, and he's trying to make a point to her, and he puts these headphones on her, and to this to play the song that he's obviously just been working on, and it's like brilliant. And that they kind of harken back to that a little bit throughout the film as well, almost like in some ways. You see that the Terrence Malick one, Tree of Life, a few years ago. There's elements of that, and I loved that. And a lot of people didn't, but I loved that there was elements of that in it as well.
It almost sounds a little like it's a play on the Patrick Swayze Ghost, or is it? Or is it total?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I mean, in the sense that like a loved one kind of comes back, but she can't see him or anything. You know, it's not. It's almost supernatural as well at a couple of points too. But it's just beautiful, and I'm delighted. I was on the plane. I was like, I'll have a look at this. Watch Atomic Blonde on the way back, by whatever. So they're my 3 of the year. D, can you give me a couple of yours?
I loved Blade Runner 2049. I know it divided a lot of people. A lot of people didn't love it, but I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous. I thought it was the perfect sequel to Blade Runner. The acting was great. I loved what they did with Ryan Gosling character, with Harrison Ford. Even that actress who I forget the name of.
Oh, she played Joy.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And I liked the other actress as well, who was kind of Ryan Gosling's girlfriend.
Well, like the one who.
No, I like both of those characters.
Mackenzie Davis was the blonde one, and then Joy was the hologram one, and then there was the one who was the hench woman was Love. So
no, I loved all those characters really, but that's what, and I thought they worked. It's so stunning, and I loved the new characters and everything. There was a lot to love about it. Like, I couldn't believe as I was watching it that it was as long as it was, because it flew by, and I just kind of wanted to keep watching it, keep being in that world, and I think that's kind of a testament to its strength. So that would be one of my favorites of the year, and I'd say my second favorite of the year is Raw.
You loved Raw, didn't you?
I loved Raw. I was mad about it. Yeah. It was just such an interesting new take on kind of, the cannibal genre, but like she's kind of coming of age, and she's just started in vet school, and her sister's there as well, and she tries meat for the first time, and then she craves human flesh. But it's just kind of so like emotionally done, and I mean, some parts of it are really kind of quite like graphic and disturbing, and they like really kind of shake you up. Like, of all the horrors I saw this year, this really shook me up. But like, you leave the cinema with this kind of story, because it ends up turning into this like family drama, and you wouldn't expect that much to be going on in a film. It's from French Canadian movie, is it? Yes, or French Belgian possibly.
Anyway, people aren't speaking English. That's all you need to know.
Subtitles.
It is subtitled, but please don't let that put you off. It's definitely one of the ones that was missed this year that I think everyone should go see.
Deadly. Brian, justify your existence.
Death of Stalin was my personal film of the year, and I just
what about John?
But yeah, no, Death to Stalin I thought was absolutely hilarious. I have never laughed that much in a press screening, because usually like when you know, for anyone who doesn't know, when you go into a press screening, it's usually pretty dry. It's you and basically 10 other people.
Full of a load of shithead film critics.
Yeah, and it's like a 10:30 in the morning and nobody's in a good mood, and it's just, you know, like it's pretty dry. Like it's not exactly
Why is nobody in a good mood? You're watching film for a living.
No, it's just,
lazy showerish
I mean in the sense of like,
I
you
did
know,
that for 6 years and it was great. I never had to do anything else.
All right, but my point, what I'm saying to you is that when everyone else goes to the cinema, everyone's in a good mood. There's loads of people there. It's infectious. Laughter is infectious. Is my point. When it's a press screening, it's just you and about 10 other people, and you know whatever. But Death to Stalin, I was howling laughing the whole way through it. If you liked Veep, if you liked the thick of it, if you liked Armando Iannucci's kind of really caustic, I mean, it is just so caustic. The humor in it, like, it's really bitter. He's
unbelievably sharp.
He's so sharp, like, it's so sharp. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Best comedy of the year, but hands down. I mean, I know it hasn't been a great year for comedies anyway, but it was absolutely brilliant. And my other film of the year, it's kind of an obvious one, but like, whatever, it was a really good film, Dunkirk. Dunkirk was incredible. It was, you know, kind of revolutionized the idea of, not revolutionise it, but like made it so that like you could tell a story so well with so little dialogue and be so economic with it, but it still had this complete, you know, emotional story in it, you know, that sort of way. Like, you didn't need people kind of telling you, oh my god, I'm really panicked. It showed it to you, you know, that sort of way. And even used music and the cinematography on top of that to actually convey that without, again, having to show emotion.
It's kind of, it's a funny one because it's not slipped through the cracks, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not being mentioned as heavily because of, I suppose, it came out in the summer and we talked about that in the award season.
Yeah.
And those Oscar films coming up, but it is a masterclass in filmmaking.
Oh, it's incredible.
For sure, yeah.
It's incredible. Like, and I know, like, it's sort of a bit of a cliche. Like, people say that, like, you know, the sun shines out of Christopher Nolan's arse or whatever. But
it kind of does a bit though.
It does, in fairness.
Director,
like he's done really well. Like he has not. Okay, I know some people don't like Interstellar. I really liked Interstellar, but he hasn't put a foot wrong. Like,
yeah,
and even The Dark Knight Rises.
I think the fact with Interstellar was that he was making this, you know, extremely cerebral, almost abstract, you know, space sci-fi movie that was like $200 million, and he got it made.
Yeah.
I think that is a testament to that. And people went to see it as well. It did okay at the box office.
Yeah. And like, even with like The Dark Knight Rises as well, and I know like there was people like picking it apart because it didn't make sense.
Dark Knight Rises is a great crack.
But it's great. It's really,
shut
really
your faces.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Brian, can you defend your nerds with the Return of the Jedi stuff? What's the story with all these nerds? These people that, you know, have never felt the touch of another human in an intimate way.
All right. Okay. So essentially, what's going on is about 30,000 people so far. 30,000 people so far have signed this petition that they basically want The Last Jedi removed from the Star Wars official canon, and they want it reshot. They want episode 9 put back, and they want you're waving at me now. What is it? I haven't got my glasses. What's he saying? Okay. So so that all happened, and it's just, the backlash to this film has been incredible to watch, primarily because the gap between the Rotten Tomatoes score is like 93% and the audience score is something like 60% or something like that. That's a huge gap. And usually it's only ever about 5 or 10% in the difference between the audience score and the Rotten Tomatoes score. This is a huge one. I don't know why. I genuinely don't. I am a Star Wars fan. I have been all my life. I loved this film. I loved what they did with it. So I don't really see how people are having problems with it. I think that the problem that they have with it is because that Mark Hamill's character was kind of completely inverted their expectations, as in like they expect him to be this really wise character and he's a crazy old man in it.
Yeah. Living on an island for a long time. I thought it was grand. You thought it was grand, didn't you?
It was grand. Yeah. There was a lot of kind of pandering to fans in it, which is why I'm surprised that so many people have
you can't keep people happy. You cannot keep people happy.
Especially those nerds. God damn it. I was just thinking of when you talk about The Dark Knight Rises, get those 30,000 odd nerds and put them in a stadium with Bane.
Yeah,
problem solved. Problem solved. Mass nerd genocide. Thanks.
We're advocating genocide on this show. I love it.
Thanks so much for joining us. Have a happy Christmas. Huge shout out to Charlotte Reed for all the help this year, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.